It is no secret that I adore the Budokai series, as evidenced by the 2 hours I spent talking about it. And while this may irritate some people, I think that the Budokai games are superior to the Tenkaichi series.
Oh, shut up! Silly woman!
Even though I am a big fan of these games, I haven't played all of them. Missing out on the portable entries. I did have a PlayStation Portable, but I had no idea this game existed until recently. So had I been deprived of the greatest Budokai game of all time? No.
Stop it! You're spoiling it! You're spoiling everything!
This video is brought to you by our channel members. I'd like to give a special thanks to NTV and Caspery. Thank you so much for your support. If you find value in the many hours of this channel's content, then become a channel member today, or consider giving a small tip through the Super Thanks feature. Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai was released in 2006 for the PSP. It was developed by Dimps, the same company that was responsible for Budokai 1, 2 and 3. It borrows heavily from the previous entries in the series. At first glance, it appears to be a portable adaptation of Budokai 3's gameplay. Shin Budokai, on the other hand, modifies the gameplay in a few key ways which helps it to differentiate it from the games that came before it. My first thoughts when entering a match was that this game looks great. The benefit of the cell shading style really shines through, as it can look fantastic even on a less powerful system. The characters stand out from the backgrounds thanks to the vibrant colours and outlines, with the backgrounds themselves looking quite good. Although the snow effect isn't particularly impressive because the snow is simply placed over the camera rather than falling within the stages. Also, sometimes the parallax is off and gives the impression that the background is moving. While the game was able to keep the character models in high quality, the characters no longer have any mouth movements.
You were pretty good!
Or expressions, other than one neutral face, although I must admit that the faces look better than those in Budokai 3. It's just a shame they don't move. The animations are wonderful, and they contribute to the controls feeling extremely satisfying to use. Shin Budokai's characters move faster than those in previous Budokai games. Combos are delivered faster, and the characters themselves can move faster. Several new movement animations have been added to smooth out the action, including a small backwards flip when someone recovers from being knocked down, which they also do in the air. Somehow, it's magic. Wow, yes, it's key. It's key magic. Don't worry, it's kidding. The key blasts and auras still look great. The special and ultimate attacks have been toned down a bit, but this ties into the gameplay. Shin Budokai's soundtrack is just the Budokai 3 soundtrack, which if you're like me and love the Budokai 3 soundtrack, then this is a plus. But I can't help but feel that they're reusing these tracks a little bit too much. As a lot of Budokai 3's soundtrack was also featured in the first Budokai Tenkaichi game, at least for the versions released outside of Japan anyway. All of the sound effects from the anime are carried over, as are the Funimation dubbed voices. Given that this is made for a portable system, I'm honestly really impressed. It looks great, it sounds great, but does it play great? Shin Budokai's gameplay is very similar to Budokai 3, but it has a few differences that set it apart from its older brother. It has standard punches and kicks, as well as a key blast. When you press the guard button at the right time, you can not only guard but also dodge attacks. Key moves can be charged, and the longer they are charged, the more damage they deal. Shin Budokai saw the first application of the aura burst system. Holding the R button causes the character to emit a burst of energy around them. During this burst, the character has the ability of dashing around the arena at a breakneck speed, dash punching the opponent, or hitting the opponent with an attack that stuns them for several seconds. Not only is the character vulnerable to attack while using aura burst, but the burst also depletes the ki gauge, and if the ki gauge reaches 0, the character loses their transformation and is stunned for a few seconds. Aura burst was later seen in Infinite World and Burst Limit, but I found it to be the most fun in this game. The removal of the capsule system is the most significant gameplay difference between Shin Budokai and Budokai 3. The capsule system has been a fixture of the Budokai series, and it has even been reintroduced for Infinite World. You could customize a character's attacks and passive buffs by equipping up to 7 capsules. Rather than relying on capsules, the characters in Shin Budokai have their own set of moves, including 2 special moves, an ultimate move, and various combos. A series of punches and kicks will result in a combo that can be cancelled out of, even into special moves. This gives the characters a very versatile and fluid feel to them, even better than in Budokai 3, but not as good as Infinite World. But Infinite World is a whole other can of worms.
Oh, shut up, silly woman.
The special and ultimate moves vary depending on your character's form. As a result, you'll occasionally need to change your playstyle mid-battle. Another significant change is the health system. Instead of losing a small amount of health when blocking, a character doesn't immediately lose health while blocking attacks. However, the damage dealt while blocking is indicated in red, and if the character can avoid damage for a few seconds, the damage dealt while blocking will heal itself back up. So you can now defend against an ultimate attack while still having a chance to recover with your health intact. Ultimate moves in this game aren't as dynamic and are a lot easier to execute. I believe this is one of the reasons why they changed how the health worked. Ultimates can essentially be performed whenever you have enough ki. You don't need to go into hyper mode or anything. This means that using these attacks is less risky, and I find myself using them more frequently. They aren't really overpowered, as the AI has the habit of doing the same. Since the cutscenes that used to accompany these attacks have been significantly toned down, they aren't as annoying when spammed, and can now be blocked or avoided with careful timing. Similar to the Tenkaichi series, characters can start a fight already transformed, and any character with multiple transformations can only select one to become in a fight. All transformations, whether Super Saiyan 2 or 3, can be activated at 4 bars of ki, just 1 bar higher than the starting level. Fighters can reach their strongest transformations far too easily, putting characters with weaker transformations at a disadvantage. Furthermore, because stronger transformations cost the same as weaker transformations, there is no reason to ever choose weaker transformations, except for the fact that Super Saiyan 2 looks the coolest. If the game simply required more ki for more powerful transformations, I think this system would have worked much better and be more balanced. The game features a total of 18 characters, 13 of which are unlocked from the start. This roster is quite a bit smaller than other Budokai games, and when combined with the removal of the capsule system customization, it is very limited when compared to its console counterparts. The characters that are present, on the other hand, are well realised, with the iconic attacks and movesets. The real-time ultimate attacks and the aura bursts allow for faster paced fights. With the removal of Dragon Rush and less flashy attack animations, it feels like you're being interrupted less during a fight. It just feels more fluid, and I really like it, to the point where this might be my favourite Budokai game purely based on the gameplay. However, there are still the game modes to go over, and this is where Shin Budokai starts to fall a bit short. Dragon Road is the story mode for Shin Budokai. The structure of Dragon Road is very simple. You'll enter a map that is curiously laid out on Snake Way. I'm not sure why the mode isn't called Snake Way or Snake Road or something, but a lot of the plot revolves around the other world, so this imagery does make sense. I just feel like they missed an opportunity for the name to match up better with... yeah, it doesn't matter. There will be an icon with a profile picture of the character you'll be fighting against. Each of these icons will take you to a cutscene in which the characters interact with one another. And I use the term cutscene very loosely, because if you've ever played Budokai 3 or a visual novel game, you'll be familiar with this type of cutscene. The characters will communicate with one another via text box with an image of the character. The character artwork is fine, I guess. Nothing special, and appears to be just renderings of the 3D models. The main problem with these character images is that each character and their various transformations only have one, meaning each character has only one expression, usually slightly angry but ultimately indifferent, regardless of what happens.
We're gonna die! Meh.
Shin Budokai takes place 2 years after Kid Buu's defeat. This is a refreshing change of pace from the other Budokai games, who have all followed the Saiyan saga up to the Buu saga. The story mode follows the plot of the Fusion Reborn movie, but not exactly, as it does deviate quite a bit from the plot of the movie by adding in lots of, well, we'll get to that. Goku is going camping with his friends and hopes to be joined by Piccolo and Vegeta. Goku expecting Vegeta to go camping with him is a bit optimistic in my view, but that's the plot. Goku is taken aback when he sees his son Gohan, who is supposed to be studying for a test. Gohan explains that his mother told him,
You can't stay in your room all the time.
so he decides to get some exercise today. This is the setup for the game's first fight. Each icon on the map menu will take you to a different fight, and there is always a short story cutscene before each fight. This structure works extremely well for the game's portability. You get a little bit of both story and gameplay. These bite-sized segments allow you to pick up and play, as well as put down the game when necessary. Goku wins the sparring match since Gohan hasn't fought in a long time and is out of shape. Goku and Gohan take off flying to the camping location. Some rather mundane events occur, such as them catching fish and shit like that. And honestly, this opening segment is a whole lot of not much happening. And a lot of the game is like that, with the story at least. The game is merely trying to set up easier fights for you to participate in, so that you can learn how to use the game's controls. There is no tutorial in this game, only a training mode, which is fine if you've played any of the previous Budokai titles, because the gameplay is very similar. However, if this is your first time playing a Budokai game, the story mode starts off quite easy. There is a fight between Goku and Krillin, for example. We control Goku, who is much stronger and has more health, so you have a huge advantage over the AI, which allows you to experiment a bit. As the story progresses, the game does the opposite, with the odds being placed very much against the player. The enemies you face will have a lot more health and will spam their ultimate moves. This gives the game a very inconsistent difficulty curve, with one fight feeling like you win by the skin of your teeth, with the next being a cakewalk, which as a pure game design standpoint is not good, as ideally you'd want the difficulty curve to be fairly smooth. However, in the terms of a Dragon Ball Z game, I actually think this works really well. It lets the characters that are meant to be more powerful than others actually get to be more powerful in gameplay. And overall the difficulty isn't actually very high, so it never really gets frustrating. After each battle, you'll be given a rating. Your battle rank is judged on 3 things: time, tech, and life. The faster you defeat your opponent, the higher your time ranking. Tech, I'm not really sure about. I'm guessing it's based on the moves you use. Life is an obvious one. The more life you have at the end, the higher the ranking for this category. Now, depending on how you score in the categories, you can get one of these ranks: Z, S, A, B, C, D. Depending on how well you perform during a fight, you'll be rewarded with Zenny. Like I mentioned before, there is no capsule system or anything like that, so it's not like you need the Zenny to buy capsules. So what exactly do you spend the Zenny on? Well, I'm going to go over that a little bit later on the video, but let's just say it rhymes with the word disappointing. Dragon Road consists of 5 chapters, even though the menu makes it look like there will be much more. Why is there so much extra space? It tricked me into thinking there will be more, but there isn't. Anyway, while Goku and his friends are out camping, a portal between Hell and Earth opens up and the dead are being resurrected.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Including 2 of the series' most notorious villains, Frieza and Cell. Yes, it wouldn't be a Budokai game without multiple fights against Cell and Frieza. Okay, it's nowhere near as repetitive as Budokai 2. This is mainly due to how often you'll be switching between characters, as this story mode isn't just played from one character's perspective. You get to play as almost all of the available characters at some point in the campaign, even the villains. This not only keeps the game from being less repetitive, but also allows for a more elaborate story since we aren't just stuck with following one character. During certain points in Dragon Road, there are branching paths that you can go down. To access these different story scenarios, you just need to pick a dialogue option that shows up during certain cutscenes. So these alternate routes aren't accessed through the core gameplay, which is a bit unfortunate, as this was sort of a thing in Budokai 3, where performing a certain way in a fight would change how the story played out. For example, you could unlock Oob by defeating King Boo with the Spirit Bomb. But yeah, these choices will change the fights that you participate in, and you will need to go down all the paths to unlock all of the characters. The impact that these paths have in the overall story is pretty negligible, as they don't really change the story in any meaningful way. It always plays out with Goku and Vegeta fusing into either Gogeta or Vegito to defeat the demon Janemba. You do get to pick which one to fuse into, which is pretty cool. By the way, Vegito is the right choice. His moveset works way better against Janemba, and this is coming from one who likes Gogeta better in his base form, which isn't even in this game. 0 out of 10. So the main plot is fine. It's based off the Fusion Reborn movie and has enough setup to make the main conflict not feel out of nowhere. Now the storytelling, on the other hand, is quite bad, as in a lot of it reads like a bad fan fiction. The characters just aren't written that well and feel a bit out of character. The best example takes place at the beginning of chapter 4. Janemba has the ability to alter reality and begins interfering with multiple dimensions and timelines in an attempt to throw the universe into chaos. Future Trunks ends up coming across Android 18, and the interaction goes like this.
Wait, calm down. You're that Trunks, right?
Huh? You're the number 18 from the past?
Exactly.
So this is the future of that world.
Looks that way.
Oh, I see. So here you're not doing anything bad?
Right now, I'm just a housewife.
Housewife? Well, anyway, what happened? What's going on with this world?
Huh? Did something happen? Well, man, this is annoying. Okay, so I'm only gonna say this once. Okay, I'm married to Krillin.
What?
We have a daughter.
What?
Her name's Marin. She takes after Krillin. She's really cute. Wait, how does an android have a daughter?
You see what I mean about the writing coming across very fan fiction-y? It's a shame that the writing is so bad because I really like the idea of the story. I just don't like the execution of it. The idea of having branching paths is really cool, but they don't really amount to anything. I really like the variety of characters that you get to play with while going through the story, but the actual character interactions aren't very engaging. Shin Budokai story mode is really let down by its story because the gameplay is fantastic. With better writing, this really could have been something special. Unfortunately, it falls short. There are a few other modes to play besides Dragon Road. Arcade mode is strange. Not because the gameplay is strange, as you essentially just participate in a bunch of fights, but rather the goal is strange. In arcade mode, you try to collect the Dragon Balls, which makes sense given that this is a Dragon Ball game. But, and this is a big but, even if you collect all 7, you will not be granted a wish. The character is granted a wish, but you as the player are not. It's strange because in previous Budokai games, you could choose from a few rewards, such as money or capsules. Oh yeah. So the shop in this game is terrible. Because there is no capsule system, they had to come up with something for you to spend your money on. And they came up with stickers that you can use to personalize your profile card.
Disappointing.
So to sum it up, the Dragon Balls don't grant you a wish because there is nothing worth wishing for. Profile cards are used as an ID in network battles. I haven't participated in any network battles, but apparently that's what the power level is for. Every network battle you win raises your power level, and having a higher power level means something, and I don't know. In Z trial mode, there are 2 different modes you can play, time attack and survival. There are 7 courses in time attack where you must defeat various enemies as quickly as possible. Survival mode requires you to defeat as many opponents as possible in a row. It's a non-stop gauntlet and your health does not fully regenerate between fights. I don't really like the time pressure of the time attack mode, so I only played it once. Survival mode, on the other hand, is a lot of fun and adds a nice extra challenge. The training mode is essentially a carbon copy of Budokai 3. There are a load of options you can fiddle around with, making it a great mode to practice and experiment with characters. Just a really solid training mode as usual. The one glaring omission has to be the absence of a traditional versus mode in which you can set up a custom match against the computer. I'm not sure why this was left out because it seems like the most obvious mode to include. The various modes are nothing special. They all use the excellent core mechanics, so I couldn't say that any of them are bad. Dragon Road is by far the most substantial, though even with doing all of the branching pathways, it still isn't all that long. Plus, the small amount of characters to unlock doesn't give much reason for repeat playthroughs. Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai's gameplay is fantastic, and is probably my favourite in the series. It plays a bit faster than Budokai 3, but without the annoying fatigue system found in Infinite World, and also without the soul-crushing AI. Unfortunately, this game is let down by its story mode. It had a lot of potential to provide something truly unique, but in the end, it just couldn't live up to that potential. But maybe the sequel did. Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai excelled at its gameplay, but I found its story mode to be lacking. Many individuals may think that a story mode in a fighting game isn't all that important, but I'm one of those people that plays Dragon Ball Z games for the story and the fan service.
Nice.
Shin Budokai 2 shares many mechanics and features with its predecessor and feels more like an expansion than a sequel. So because of this, I'm going to be skipping over the stuff that I already talked about in the Shin Budokai 1 video. So go watch the video on the first game if you care enough to do so. But if you don't care, then let's move on, shall we? Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai 2, also known as Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai Another Road, is a fighting game that was released for the PlayStation Portable in 2007. It is the sequel to the 2006 game Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai. What an amazing fact. And is the second Dragon Ball Z game to be released for the PSP. Another Road is the name of the story mode, which is a fucking weird coincidence. The plot of this game is a brand new story, rather than a retelling of any of the sagas or movies. Kind of. Allegedly. This helps to distinguish this game from the other Budokai titles, because even Shin Budokai 1 followed the Fusion Reborn movie, though it did deviate slightly, with a lot of meandering. An alternate timeline saw Goku suffer and die from a heart condition, and Earth's mightiest defenders eventually succumb to the androids. Despair rules the bleak world. The last surviving warrior of this world, known only as Trunks, travelled back in time to meet Goku. Over the course of successive fights with the androids in Cell, he grew stronger, and now harmony in the past and future has been re-established. After some time has passed and the major cities have been rebuilt, the World Martial Arts Tournament is held once again. Trunks has decided to participate in the tournament, and while there he meets both Kibito and Shin, aka the Supreme Kai. I know, it's a twist. Kibito requests that Trunks transform into a Super Saiyan, which he does, attracting the wizard Babidi and his henchman Dabura to the tournament grounds.
Aha! There you are.
What's this? He seems to have an impressive energy.
Dabura begins stealing energy from the tournament fighters in order to resurrect Majin Buu. Is this beginning to sound familiar? Recognizing this, Trunks tries to stop him, but is unable to move due to the Supreme Kai's powers, who does not want Trunks to fight them just yet. They try to flee, but Dabura starts destroying cities to lure them out. When Trunks notices this, he breaks free, only to have Dabura drain his energy. Babidi and Dabura are awestruck by his immense power and wonder if there are others like him. Babidi examines Trunks' memories and discovers the Z fighters from the main timeline. Okay, so to avoid confusion, I'm going to be referring to the timeline from like the anime and manga as the main timeline, and the future timeline is the future timeline.
Hello. Yuck, what the fuck?
After the prologue, we are teleported back in time 10 years to 1997 with these janky looking models. Yes, this is a handheld game, but The transition from the beautiful graphics of the fights to this is so jarring. So in the story mode, you'll be taken to a section of the world map where you can fly around, similar to the Dragon Universe mode in Budokai 3, but completely different. You'll be given a clear condition that is usually to defeat an enemy and sometimes within a time limit, which you need to achieve in order to clear the stage. You're also given an optional mission that, if completed, will reward you with a Z ranking for the stage. The higher your rank, the more Zenny you will earn. You will spawn on a small portion of the world map, most likely because loading the entire thing would be too taxing on the PSP. You can change the camera view from close to not as close to even more not as close. Your default fly speed is extremely slow, making the controls feel sluggish. You can accelerate by holding down the X button, which feels better, not like but more like also it lasts for bugger all time. It just makes flying around the map not all that fun. To engage in combat, simply fly into the enemy, who will also be flying around the map. But fighting the enemies isn't the only thing you'll have to worry about, because they'll be trying to destroy cities as they fly around. The health percentage of a city is displayed in the upper left corner of the screen. If an enemy begins to destroy cities, its percentage will decrease. You must defeat the enemy and position yourself close to the city in order to restore it. Not only will the city's percentage return, but you will also regain any lost health. The system is honestly just kind of annoying, but I'm gonna go over it in more detail later on because the annoyingness just gets more annoying as the game progresses. It's such a terrible sentence. Our first objective is to defeat Deborah within the time limit, so all we have to do now is to fly into him. And my first thought when entering this fight was, what the fuck? So the camera angle in this game is similar to that seen in the Tenkaichi series. However, you can move freely within the 3D space in those games, and your movement was orientated around your opponent. However, in Shin Budokai 2, your movement is restricted and the controls do not accommodate this camera angle. So when you press up on the directional buttons, which you'd think would move your character towards your opponent, it doesn't. Instead, you are supposed to press right. It just doesn't feel right. Furthermore, it is difficult to read your opponent's movements clearly. Fortunately, you can return the camera to the slide-on view, as it should be. Now, I have no problem with the game allowing you to change the camera angle if that's how you want to play the game, because you're some kind of psychopath. My problem is that this is the camera's default setting. Why would you make this camera the default when the controls of the game are clearly not designed for it? If this was someone's first Budokai game, you might think that this is how it's supposed to be. The cool fighting mechanics are pretty much copy-pasted from Shin Budokai 1. Not that that's a bad thing, as they are excellent. Although there are a few added features that make this gameplay a little differently. We now have a guard bar, so instead of infinite blocking, you only have a few hits before you have to use another form of defense, such as the aura guard. The aura guard uses ki, but is much more difficult to break, and can even block ultimate attacks. Unfortunately, the AI has a habit of spamming this move, which can be quite irritating. Throws, fully charged slam attacks, and aura slams can all break through aura guard. A character's aura burst charge is activated by pressing both shoulder buttons at the same time, which has varying effects depending on the character. Some characters receive massive stat boosts, allowing them to deal more damage, while others regenerate health and have their ki cost significantly reduced. In the pause menu, you can check a character's power up at the bottom of the command list. When a character transforms, their aura burst charge can change, just like their special and ultimate attacks. However, the weaker aura burst charge is more common in stronger transformations. Aura burst charge is a useful ability that can temporarily increase a character's power, allowing them to turn the tide of battle in their favour. However, it should be used wisely, as it can only be used once per fight, unless you're Goku, because he is the main character. Well, I guess technically Trunks is the main character in this game, so I have no idea. Unfortunately, Shin Budokai 2 does a bad job at explaining these new mechanics, and by bad I mean it doesn't explain them at all. There is still no tutorial, which I thought was fine for the first game because it was simpler. Additionally, fighting games tend to rely on players learning through trial and error, as there are many different characters and abilities to experiment with and master. This means that a tutorial mode may not be required to teach players how to play the game effectively. However, these new features aren't very intuitive to figure out, and I hardly even used them when I started because I didn't know what they were and I didn't know how to use them. Deborah flees the battle and fires a massive energy blast into a densely populated city. Trunks is able to withstand the blast and protect the city. He lost consciousness as a result of the damage he'd already sustained. Babidi and Deborah escape, but Trunks overhears their plan to travel to the main timeline and absorb the Z Fighter's energy in order to resurrect Boo. That brings the first chapter to a close. Or does it? If we return to chapter 1 and fail to defeat Deborah within the time limit, an alternate path will be revealed. Trunks is severely injured and nearly killed by a powerful ki blast from Deborah. Kibito sacrifices himself to deflect the attack. Trunks had to seek medical attention because Kibito was their only source of healing. Babidi and Deborah were able to gather enough energy to resurrect Boo because they had no one to oppose them. You'll now be fighting Trunks as Majin Buu. This fight is heavily skewed in your favour due to your superior health. With the death of Trunks, the fate of the world was sealed. Boo destroyed the world, then the universe, before turning his attention to the Kais. Those who could have stopped Boo were long gone. The world will soon return to nothingness. That was bloody bleak. Well, on to chapter 2. After being wounded by Deborah while protecting a city from one of his ki blasts, Trunks realizes that he cannot do it alone. He decides to travel back in time once more to seek assistance from the main timeline's Z fighters. Deborah is attacking West City, and Trunks must defend it if the time machine is to be saved. There are two possible outcomes in this section. Trunks either goes to Korin's tower on his way to West City, or directly to the city. He'll get senzu beans either way. These act as lives. When you lose a fight, you will consume a senzu bean, and using all of them means the game is over. The enemies may also have senzu beans, and you will have to fight them multiple times before they leave the field. When you refight an enemy, they will start with less and less health, so the fights will get quicker. However, it can become quite repetitive, especially if you go out of your way to defeat everyone on the field. Yeah, so Android 18, Cell and Frieza are here now. But they are not the real ones, rather puppets created by Babidi. You can just avoid fighting them if you can't be bothered. Sometimes they will chase you though. For this stage, you must defeat Deborah once more, but this time before West City is destroyed. If successful, the time machine and Trunks' mother Bulma will be saved. Trunks will travel back in time to recruit the help of the Z fighters. If you fail to protect the city in time, the game will take a different turn. Trunks decides to bring future Gohan and Pikkon back to life for one day on Earth to aid in the fight, like what Goku was able to do during the Buu saga. And it is at this point where you will realize how difficult this game can be. It will set strict time limits for you to defeat the enemies, who now have significantly more health, and the time limits aren't just for fights. The timer is also counting down while flying around the map, so you don't have much time to rest between fights. It's an absolute clusterfuck, and I would be extremely impressed by anyone who would be able to do this mission on their first playthrough. If you do manage to win a fight, the enemy will probably call for allies, making it even more of a clusterfuck. Gohan and Pikkon will now join you on the field and fight alongside you. At the bottom of the screen is a battle meter. It will display the progress of an ally's fight, whether they are winning or losing, which at this point in the game they are almost certainly going to lose. You can interrupt their fight to try and help them, or you can heal them with one of your senzu beans, but this means less for you. If you fail this mission, which let's be honest, you probably will, Trunks must fight alone after Gohan and Pikkon's single down Earth expires. By himself he cannot stand up to the enemy and is destroyed. With Trunks gone, there is no one left to oppose Babidi's ambitions and the world is doomed.
Shit.
So we've established that this game can be extremely difficult. However, this is a game that will entice you to return for multiple playthroughs. In Shin Budokai 1 there was no way to customize your character. In Shin Budokai 2 there is the booster system. After a fight you will be able to select a booster card. Because they are turned down, the outcome is somewhat random. You don't have access to very powerful boosters at the start of the game, but as you progress through it, you will be rewarded with much more powerful ones. You can customize the booster grid with each character. The grid has a maximum of 9 slots. Not all of the slots will be unlocked from the beginning, and you can purchase these slots with Zenny along with other boosters. Boosters are classified into 3 types. The normal boosters improve various stats such as health, ki, strength, and a few others. Power-up boosters augment the effects of the other boosters. They have arrows on them, so you need to pay attention how you arrange them on your grid. Last but not least, there are the extremely rare ultimate boosters. These increase the power of your ultimate move, but because they are so powerful, you can only set one of these at a time. Boosters can make a significant difference in the outcome of a battle, and I'm pretty sure the difficulty of the story mode takes these into account, because the AI isn't necessarily difficult in terms of skill, it's just that their stats are so much higher than yours at the start, and there simply isn't enough time to defeat them without boosted stats. Overall, boosters can be a useful tool for those looking to give their characters an advantage in battle. However, keep in mind that these boosters are not a replacement for skill and strategy, and you must still use your wits and fighting abilities to win battles. Boosters are a great reward for fighting and make achieving higher ranks more meaningful because there's something worth spending your ZD on this time around. When you do eventually clear this mission, Boo's resurrection is prevented and that's the end. Not worth it. But what I really like about these branching paths is that the story is changed by the player's actions, and they have a significant impact on the story. Unlike the first game where you simply chose a dialogue option, and it had little impact on the plot. Trunks used his time machine to travel back in time. He explains the situation in the future to Goku and the other Z fighters. Then they all travel to the future. This entire scenario happens within a few text boxes. When telling its story, this game, like the first Shin Budokai, employs a visual novel style. The character portraits look much better this time around because the game uses 2D images rather than renders of the 3D models. However, the problem of the characters only having one expression remains. The maps section now have character interactions as well. They are typically used to keep you up to date on what the other characters are up to, as well as to provide brief explanations from King Kai. However, these minor interactions can become quite irritating, especially if your allies keep taking out the puppets.
Oh man, I was holding back.
You'll be constantly interrupted while attempting to complete the objective, and it gets worse and worse as the game progresses, due to the increasing number of enemies on the field. While it is nice that they added in a little bit more character interactions in the story presentation, overall they are fucking annoying. The graphics in Shin Budokai 2 are nearly identical to those in the first game. The character models are detailed and closely resemble their Dragon Ball Z anime and manga counterparts. The game has smooth animations, fluid movements, and a wide range of special effects for various attacks and abilities. The game's environments are also well designed, with a variety of different stages to fight on, each with their own distinct look and feel. Overall, the graphics in Shin Budokai 2 are solid and do an excellent job of bringing the Dragon Ball Z universe to life on the PSP. While not as detailed or polished as those found in more recent games, they are still impressive given the PSP's hardware limitations. The music is mostly reused from the Budokai games, which has become a recurring theme of these videos, although there are some other tracks, but you'll be going through menus and be like, that's that song again. It's that song again. The same song. It's that one again. The music is excellent, but is becoming very overused at this point. There are two paths you can take in this chapter, but they both lead to the same conclusion, so it doesn't really matter which one you take. The plot differs only slightly, with the bottom path involving you defeating puppet clones things, and the top path involving Piccolo being taken over by Babidi. What's amusing about this is that Vegeta has the audacity to chastise Piccolo for it. Talk about the pot calling the Talk about the pot calling the kettle Mr. Kettle. Talk about calling the pot calling the kettle poop. And then he transforms back into Majin Vegeta. Because of course he does. With all the fighting, Babidi manages to gather enough energy to resurrect Boo. So Trunks brought the Z fighters to the future to stop Boo's resurrection. But the only reason Boo could be resurrected was because the Z fighters came to the future.
Shit.
What I don't understand is if Babidi has enough power to create copies of the Z fighters, then why couldn't he just take the energy from them? Or better yet, just use his own... fuck it. You must fight and defeat Vegeta while controlling Boo. Following the fight, Babidi orders Boo to kill Vegeta, but he refuses. Babidi then learns from Piccolo's memories that he was murdered by Boo in the main timeline. He also recalls Dragon Balls on planet Namek from Piccolo's memories, so he travels to planet Namek in search of the Namekian Dragon Balls. I shit you not, this is actually what happens. Within like 2 dialogue boxes where he's gone. Okay. I hate the mind-reading plot device. It's just so poorly executed and it feels like an ass pull most of the time. Plus, if you take the bottom path, Babidi never takes over Piccolo, so how would he fuck it. Trunks and the others travel to New Namek in order to find the Namekian Dragon Balls before Babidi and Cooler, who is also here, looking for the Dragon Balls, because he is evil?
Are we the baddies?
Honestly, at this point the game is just adding enemies and the story doesn't do a good job of justifying their appearance, but it does add variety. But actually it doesn't at all, because you have to fight Metal Cooler over and over again. I'd like to apologise to Budokai 2 for complaining about how repetitive it was, because in comparison, it wasn't. I didn't know, okay? I didn't know. During these next few stages, you have to fly around to locate the Dragon Balls. Fortunately, you have the Dragon Radar to assist you. They appear as orange balls on the map, and you simply need to fly over them to collect them. If the enemy finds one, you must fight them and defeat them in order to take it away from them. This also works in reverse, as if you lose a fight while in possession of a Dragon Ball, your opponent will take it. Trunks and the others fight the Meta Coolers, but one manages to flee and report to the normal Cooler? Is that what he's called? The one that's not made of metal. Revealing that Goku was the one who defeated his brother Frieza and is on New Namek. Cooler decides to accompany the Meta Coolers to fight Goku. Before beginning a mission, you can select 3 characters to use. The first character is the one you will be in control of. Your CPU allies will be the other 2. From this screen you can also customize the characters with boosters and stuff, but there is also another option that I didn't figure out until reaching this chapter. That is, you must choose the transformation in the character select screen. I couldn't figure out why the characters wouldn't transform, despite having unlocked the transformations, so make certain that you select it here. The transformations still work the same way they did in the first game, so they are extremely unbalanced. It makes no sense that you only need 4 full ki gauges to turn Super Saiyan 3, whose base ki is 6 gauges. This 4 gauge requirement is largely meaningless in the story mode, as you begin the fight already transformed. In terms of balance, this system is just bad, but in terms of making the characters who should be more powerful, they are more powerful. What? Who wrote this nonsense? Broly also turns up on planet Namek and is as angry as ever. It turns out that both him and Cooler are working with Babidi, because of course they are. Despite this, the Z Fighters manage to collect the 7 Dragon Balls, and Dende summons Porunga and makes 3 wishes. The first is to resurrect those who died on New Namek. The second is to destroy the Big Gedi Star, and the third is to restore the destroyed villages. Babidi tries to attack Dende before the third wish is granted. Dende cries out for help, which Porunga interprets as a wish. A mysterious figure appears and stops Babidi. I wonder who it could be! The Z Fighters bring Dende to Earth to become the new Guardian and have the Dragon Balls on Earth again, and remove all tension from the plot. Not that there was much to begin with, but life and death are meaningless! There are a few different branches in this chapter, but they are all just different fail states. If you fail to collect the Dragon Balls before the villains, all of the alternative endings pretty much boil down to everyone dies and the universe is doomed.
Shit.
While the Z Fighters were on New Namek, Mr. Satan managed to befriend Boo by giving him a pebble. This may appear trivial, but it's crucial for later on. Deborah attacks Mr. Satan, which enrages Boo and causes him to split in 2, making an evil Boo. They fight, with evil Boo eventually devouring good Boo. Yum. Fighting as Super Boo, we must eliminate Deborah. I'm not sure who we should root for, but it's probably Deborah. He has a beard. That's why we should root for him. Super Boo then transforms Deborah into chocolate and consumes him. Yum. The Z Fighters return to Earth. Dende restores the Dragon Balls and Tien and Yamcha go to collect them. At the same time, Babidi returns to Earth and discovers that Deborah has been defeated by Super Boo. He then notices a Dragon Ball in Boo's hand, which was the pebble given to him by Mr. Satan. Well done, story. You done something good. Recognizing that the Dragon Balls have been revived, he sends Super Boo to play with the Z Fighters while he, the brainwashed Cooler, and Broly go after the Dragon Balls. Playing through this chapter, I can't help but notice that this game's completely unique story is just a retelling of the Boo saga, but with extra steps. In this chapter, for example, Gohan returns to the sacred world of the Kai to use the Z Sword, but is unable to do so. Instead, they must locate Gohan from the future timeline. In this timeline, future Gohan has already died, and they must travel to the other world. This is where all of the extra steps occur, such as when they end up fighting Janemba, and then Bardock joins us to fight Boo, and it's like, What? The plot gets very derailed, mostly to add in more content to play through. Basically, this is just a long-winded way for me to say that the storytelling is not very good. They simultaneously stick too close to the source material, making it feel kind of like a truncated rehash of the Boo saga, while veering way left field with adding in all of these other villains and characters to the point where it becomes unnecessarily convoluted. It doesn't help that the writing once again reads like bad fan fiction. Most of the dialogue is an absolute slog to read through. The writing style is uninteresting, most of the characters feel out of character, if they are written with any character at all. I like the concept of what they're going for, but once again I hate the execution. The best part about the story is they make Gohan powerful again, which is awesome as his character got a bit shafted during the end of Z and post Z. Why does the writer hate Gohan? Another thing I want to complain about is that future Gohan still has both his arms. I guess you get your missing limbs back when you die. After finding future Gohan, the group returns to the sacred world of the Kai. Future Gohan easily pulls the Z sword out and Gohan shatters it to reveal old Kai. Future Gohan has his potential unlocked and brought back to life by old Kai. Paikon and Bardock are then given one day to help. The old Kai also gives them Patora earrings for fusion. Goku is astounded by how many fighters they have amassed, including his father, which I still find odd, but I'm guessing it's just for fan service, which I think is okay. They have managed to collect all the Dragon Balls besides the one that Babidi is in possession of. Babidi appears at the lookout and demands the Dragon Balls, threatening to obliterate the cities if he doesn't get them. While Yamcha is distracted, Janemba emerges from the shadows and steals the Dragon Balls from him. There are two paths you can take, one to save the cities and the other to pursue Janemba. If you take the top path, Goku and Vegeta will perform a fusion dance, and you will be able to play as Gogeta. The Z Fighters reclaim the Dragon Balls after defeating Janemba. However, we still have to go defend the cities, so the decision at the beginning of the chapter didn't really matter much. Broly and Cooler are the ones responsible for attacking the cities. Babidi steals the Dragon Balls during the fight. Not needed anymore, Babidi betrays Broly and Cooler because he's an idiot. Cooler's rage frees him from Babidi's control and causes him to attack the sorcerer, requiring Babidi to use Super Buu to absorb both Broly and Cooler, making Buu even more powerful. The other path is similar in that you go to save the cities, but this time as Gotenks. Buu ends up absorbing Gotenks and Gohan, just as he did in the original story. So Goku and Vegeta fuse into Vegito using the Patora earrings. They deliberately become absorbed in order to free Gotenks and Gohan. I can't help but notice that these branching paths don't add much to the experience. It does add more content, but it lacks meaning. You know what it feels like? It feels like filler. It stinks because it did a great job with the alternative path in Chapter 2. It felt substantial with a ramp up of difficulty while leading to a completely different outcome to the story. But aside from that chapter, the ultimate paths just start to peter out in quality. Babidi summons Shenron, but he is cut off by Mr. Satan, who wishes to become the most popular guy in the universe in order to stop Babidi's evil. Enraged that his wish has been stolen, Babidi attacks Mr. Satan, but Super Buu takes the blow, leaving him near death. Super Buu becomes enraged and devours Babidi. Super Buu transforms into Kid Buu after gaining Babidi's power. However, he suddenly becomes feeling. What the fuck? Doesn't make any sense. This is like one of the worst written scripts I have done so far. Suddenly he begins feeling intense pain and purposely spits out Good Buu. Kid Buu becomes pure evil after the Good Buu leaves his body. Kid Buu then begins mass producing Super Buu copies, which begin destroying everything. The first time through this section of the game is a complete slog. There are a lot of Boos to fight and they all have a lot of health. This section is actually quite difficult. If you're using a character that has long reach, the AI will try to stay out of that character's range and use quick close range attacks to get in close. On the other hand, if you're using a character that has a lot of powerful attacks, the AI will use a range of defensive and evasive moves to make it harder for you to land hits, and will try to take advantage of openings in your defense. All of these factors make the AI in Shin Budokai 2 challenging, but also provide a fun and rewarding experience as you learn how to overcome the AI's tactics and improve your skills. And if everything else fails, there are always boosters, and herein lies one of the game's strengths. The ability to replay sections with any character you want, equipped with whatever boosters you want. Returning to these stages with your powered up character and kicking ass is a lot of fun. It almost feels like this is how the later stages are meant to be played. After fighting through the hordes of Super Boos, Kid Buu will finally appear. Defeating him will trigger one of two endings, one in which Goku defeats Buu with a spirit bomb, and the other in which Goku, Gohan, Goten, Bardock, and future Gohan use their Kamehamehas to destroy Kid Buu, because apparently Bardock knows the Kamehameha now, even though he doesn't. In game he does not know it. I think the writers think that it's like a skill that you genetically inherit rather than a skill that you learn. No matter which ending you get, everyone returns to their timeline and everything is hunky-dory once again. Yay! Like I mentioned before, this original story is just the Buu saga but different, and not really in a good way. The Buu saga's storytelling was already a little sloppy, and Shin Budokai 2 only makes it worse. The story mode structure is intriguing with a mix of straight up fights and flying around the world map, and while the world map stages are fun at first and require a bit more strategy, they really start to drag near the end of the game. It gets very repetitive when you have multiple copies of the same enemies to defeat. The game is at its best on subsequent playthroughs when you have access to more powerful characters and more customization options. Aside from the story, there are a few other modes to play. Most of them are just carryovers from the first game, so I'm not going to go over them again. Challenges have been added to the Z Trials section. There are 50 challenges to complete. In order to complete the challenge, you must perform a specific action or actions against an opponent. This can range from using a move multiple times to dealing a certain amount of damage in a combo. These challenges are quite fun, and it is satisfying to check them off the list, though some did cause me some difficulty, and I had to look up how to do some of them. This is by far the mode I spent the most time in, other than the story mode of course. Well, maybe not. Shin Budokai 2 includes an arcade mode similar to the first game. However, it does play out slightly differently. In Shin Budokai 1's arcade mode, your fighter has 3 special battles. The 2 fighters would converse before the battle. In Shin Budokai 2, a small conversation will precede every single fight. Every character has a unique line of dialogue with every other character. The arcade mode's premise is that you are fighting through the World Martial Arts Tournament, but there isn't even a World Tournament stage in the game. So I call bullshit.
Oh no, that's bullshit, isn't it?
Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai 2 is definitely an improvement over the first game. The gameplay is still fantastic and the customization only enhances it further. While the volume and variety of the content in the story mode have increased, the storytelling and storyline remain a bit of a letdown. The game promises a completely new story, but all we got was a fanfiction retelling of the Buu saga. It becomes a really repetitive slog near the end, to be perfectly honest. The Shin Budokai series have the best gameplay of any Dragon Ball Z fighting game I've played so far, but I just can't get past the story mode's flaws. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm one of those strange people who primarily play these games for the story mode, and this game falls flat on that front. I know I keep repeating myself, but Budokai 3 is still my favourite Dragon Ball Z game. Dragon Ball Evolution can best be described as yeah, the movie is pretty bad. So it's not much of a stretch to assume that the game based on it would be just as bad, but it's not that simple. This game was developed by Dimps, the same creators of the Budokai series, and more importantly they are the creators of the Shin Budokai series too, which had seen its second entry 2 years prior to this game's release. This game is essentially Shin Budokai 3. I'm being serious. I mean, look at this. imagine this game carries a lot of stigma due to what it's based on. It's not as bad as you'd assume, but that doesn't mean that it's good. Dragon Ball Evolution, the game, is based on the movie that is based on the anime that is based on the manga. It was released on the PlayStation Portable on the 8th of April 2009, 2 days before the movie came out. So if you are very eager to experience the story of Dragon Ball Evolution, gamers could do so early. Those poor bastards. What can I say? This game looks like shit. The PSP just isn't powerful enough to pull off a realistic art style. Gone are the stylish cel-shaded models of the Budokai games, and instead we have a bunch of generic and bland looking characters with muddy textures. Since they are restricted to emulating the way the characters looked in the movie, there is just no artistic flair to any of them. The flat lighting also doesn't help. The aura and ki effects are very muted, and most don't stand out all that much. But when they do use flashier moves like the Kamehameha, they look out of place, so it's kind of a lose-lose situation. They either look underwhelming or clash with the art style. Even the character portraits look like shit. They're just photos of the actors with what looks like a shitty Photoshop filter applied to them. It's so low effort. None of the characters show any emotions, so it can be hard to tell how the dialogue is meant to be coming across. The game uses the same storytelling style as in the Shin Budokai games, with there being characters talking to each other through text boxes, but sometimes events happen and it's explained really badly through the text box, and the characters start saying all these things like, "Watch out for the lava," and you're like, "What lava? What the fuck is going on?" They really need more visuals to help with these cutscenes, because the writing just isn't good enough to convey to the player exactly what is happening. The portraits slide around the screen trying to convey action, but it looks really stupid, kinda like a kid smashing their action figures together. Okay, not like that.
You Piccadilly whore!
Yeah, like that. There are a few fully animated cutscenes in the story mode. While the animation is bad, the sound design is even worse. Okay. There are often sound effects missing from the scenes, and it just makes them awkward as fuck. There's never any voices in the cutscenes either, which is weird considering they never seem to shut up during gameplay.
Take this! Stupid human! Bring out the healing force! It's the end! Done for!
At least for this game, they do have some different music, and it's not just the Budokai 3 soundtrack again. I have to say that the stages actually look pretty decent. There aren't very many of them, but the ones that they do have look quite nice. I especially like the one that takes place inside Goku's mind. It makes sense in the movie. Well, nothing in the movie makes sense, so I don't know, nothing makes sense. And the tournament stage you fight on during the credits is pretty cool. Oh yeah, you actually get to fight during the credits. It's a really nice feature, and I wouldn't mind seeing it in other games. The gameplay is Shin Budokai 2's gameplay, but stripped down a bit. For instance, there are no transformations, no flying, and worst of all, no customization. You got a health bar, a guard bar, and a key gauge, although I don't like how they've put the key gauge at the bottom. Now you have to glance at both the bottom and the top of the screen to get all of the information. It's objectively worse. You still have the light and heavy attacks that can be followed up with by a rush attack. You'll find that a lot of the characters have less ranged attacks, so a lot of the time you'll be focused on getting up and close to your opponent. Thankfully, the aura burst system is still here. If your character has enough ki, they can use the aura burst ability to increase their attack power and movement speed. It takes half a ki bar to activate aura burst, and the rest of the bar is steadily depleted with each subsequent action. While in aura burst mode, all movement will result in an aura dash, so you can use it for quick escapes or to get behind the opponent. The aura rush is a charge that bypasses everything but ultimates. The aura slam attack cannot be blocked, and while it can be cancelled into, it is easily interrupted. When using aura guard, even ultimate attacks are completely negated, but throws, fully charged slam attacks, and aura slams can still break it. Still, it's annoying that the AI has such a bad habit of spamming this move. Aura Burst Charge is now called Full Burst, and it works just the same with each character getting their own unique buff. There are technically 11 characters in the game, but I would argue that there's really only 10. Because Neo Piccolo is just Piccolo but with a scarf. One thing this game has going for it is you can play as Bulma and Chi-Chi, which you very rarely get to do. But unfortunately, it's not the version of the character that people actually like. This is still Dragon Ball Evolution. Okay. You can also play as this. Bulma is quite a fun character. She uses a pair of pistols in place of key attacks. In fact, there are few characters that utilise weapons, which is a nice change of pace. Bulma has this RNG attack where she throws a capsule at the opponent, and it can either be a teddy bear or a motorbike. It's a really creative way to incorporate the iconic capsule into combat. You can also fight as Ozaru, who is a lot smaller than I was expecting.
Not about size, it's about how you use it, baby. Yeah.
The controls are the same, a lot of the attacks have been reused, a lot of the animations have been reused. The gameplay is fantastic because it's basically Shin Budokai 2, but with a really sad reskin. The story mode of this game is a retelling of the Dragon Ball Evolution movie, and if you would like to hear my full thoughts on that, I have created a video about it, but to put it in the briefest way possible, it's terrible and I hate it, and shame on you, 20th Century Fox. The story mode is just a bunch of fights that take place in between the visual novel segments. Here's a reenactment of playing these story segments.
It's too fast! How could you even tell what's on? I can tell.
You mostly play as Goku, but there are a few fights where you get to control someone else. The story mode isn't very difficult, and your only goal is to defeat your opponent. Apart from in this one fight. During the fight between Master Roshi and Piccolo, you must defeat Piccolo using the Mafuba, which is Roshi's ultimate attack. It only does this one time in the entire story. They didn't even do this with the final fight between Goku and Piccolo, which is probably the most appropriate, as the Kamehameha, Goku's ultimate attack, is how Piccolo was defeated in the movie. This game's recreation of it somehow looks better. I just hate the way the Kamehameha looks in the film. It's so... you know what I mean? Besides the story mode, there are missions you can complete. These are pretty much what we were just discussing, where you have to fulfill a prerequisite to pass the mission. There are a total of 50, and each time you complete one, you'll be rewarded with Zenny. The Zenny can be used to unlock behind the scenes stuff from the movie. Yes, the movie, not the game, because that would be mildly interesting. And we can't have that! There's also a training, survival, and arcade mode, which are all pretty much just copy-pasted from Shin Budokai 1. One thing I'd like to point out though, that in arcade mode, Bulma is referred to as Bulma Enchanto. I have no idea why. In the movie, her last name is Briefs.
Bulma Briefs.
No clue on that one. If you were to isolate the gameplay, I mean just the fighting segments, Dragon Ball Evolution the game is actually pretty decent. But everything that surrounds the core gameplay is bloody awful. The graphics are ugly and the story sucks. There is no reason to play this game over Shin Budokai 2. You know what this game is? A really sad Shin Budokai 3. Oh, excuse me.